Welcome to the Surrey Experience.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to the Surrey Experience, episode 31. Very special episode of the podcast today because I will be interviewing my second guest ever. The first guest that actually wanted to come on the podcast. I've had like 31 episodes and only 2 guests, so pretty much sums up my podcast. But yeah, before I get into all that, I just want to personally thank everyone that's followed me on all my social media accounts, on Instagram and Facebook, and everyone that's been emailing me, sending all these positive messages, and all the DMs. I want to thank you guys. I'm still getting a bunch of hate mail and stuff like that, but the positives are starting to outweigh the negatives, so that's definitely a good thing. And for all the people messaging me, like telling me I'm not supposed to use hashtags in my Instagram story, I fucking know that, alright? I'm just like using hashtags to mock people that post like useless shit on Instagram. And if you're wondering why I haven't posted in like a couple weeks, it's because I haven't been drinking that much. I only post when I'm like shit-faced. You know how people like drunk dial when they're fucking shit-faced? I like post shit on my Instagram stories. So if you ever see me fucking Instagramming, I'm probably throwing a fucking few scotches back. But what else did I want to talk about? Oh, I wanted to send out a big congratulations to Jinder Mahal on winning the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. That moment, like Jinder Mahal pinned Randy Orton's shoulders for the 1, 2, 3 count. That was like the moment that we fucking officially made it, man. That was like the proudest moment ever. I've never been so fucking excited in my life. To me, that was like bigger than if the Canucks won the Stanley Cup. Just think about all the great men that have held that title, man. Like Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Bret the Hitman Hart, now Jinder Mahal, dude. Fucking unbelievable. And then 2 days later on SmackDown, right, they had like a fucking Punjabi celebration, right? On fucking live TV. They had like a full-on crazy Bhangra performance. And all like the white people in the crowd were like, what the fuck? And then Jinder Mahal comes out and he's like wearing a turban, and then he grabs the mic and he goes, "This is the reign of the Maharaja." And he had like this stupid look on his face. Oh, it was brilliant, dude. It was fucking brilliant. And I know some of you are probably like, "Yo, bro, what the fuck, bro? Fucking wrestling not even real, man. Fucking shit's fake, bro." It's not about that, you dumb fuck. It's a story, man. Jinder Mahal, just a few years ago, was like the biggest jobber in wrestling, right? He lost to fucking everyone. He was used as like an enhancement talent. He was just there to make other wrestlers look good, right? He lost to fucking everybody, dude. The shittiest wrestlers. He even lost to a midget at one point. And then he gets like fired from the WWE. And he starts working on the independent circuit, and he starts drinking, and he's going through depression. And then one day, he just stops drinking, and he starts working out, and he starts hitting the gym hard. And he gets fucking yoked, dude. Like jacked, like jack. And then the WWE re-signs him, and he comes back into WWE, and he loses like another 20 matches in a row, right? But he doesn't give up. He doesn't lose hope. And then one day, out of nowhere, he wins like a fucking match where he gets a title shot, and then he wins that match and he becomes the WWE Heavyweight Champion of the world. I mean, come on, dude. If that doesn't inspire you, I don't know what the fuck will. Just the perseverance and the heart that dude has. Real or not, man, Jinder Mahal's my fucking hero, dude. Oh, and one of the guys from Richmond, like a brown dude from Richmond, got signed to the UFC. What was his name? Something Buller. You know what? Let me look it up. Hold on one second. UFC Heavyweight Richmond Contender. Oh yeah, Arjun Buller. Dude, I'm calling it right now, man. This guy's gonna do some damage in the UFC, man. Because the UFC heavyweight division is pretty weak. And this guy's like an Olympic level wrestler, man. Brown guy from Richmond. I hope they do his like first fight local, like Seattle or Edmonton or some shit. I can't wait to fucking bet on him. We should start like a fucking GoFundMe, right? Everyone in Lower Mainland. We should raise like $100,000. And bet it on Arjun Buller's first UFC fight. And with all the winnings, we should like help feed Africa or some shit. But yeah, man, our community is just swimming with fucking talent right now. Like my guest on this very special episode of the podcast, Amrita Lit. How do you like that for a segue? All right, welcome to this very special edition of the Surrey Experience. I'm joined by a very special guest today. She is the author of a newly released book called Chasing Kismet, which is a great read. I couldn't put it down when I first started it, but she's also a blogger and an entrepreneur, so please welcome the very talented Amrita Lit.
Wow, that was like the best introduction I've ever had.
I had it written down. Yeah, we got a lot to cover, so I don't want to get too much in the book because I don't want to like give away any spoilers or anything. But why don't you briefly describe what the book's about? Like, give us a brief synopsis.
Sure. So when I started writing the book, my main goal was to create something really relatable and something that wasn't currently not only in the literature world, but also just in mainstream media. I mean, all we see is like portrayals of really Western life, Caucasian life, stuff that like a lot of like uppity can't relate to. So growing up, that was always like a point that was hard for me because I wanted to see stuff that I could relate to. And no, not Bollywood movies. I mean, like that's too much on the other side of things. But so that's what I set out to do. I wanted to create a novel that was based in Surrey, that highlighted Surrey life and the good, the bad, the ugly. And yeah, that's how the story of Chasing Kismet came up. So essentially it's about an Indo-Canadian girl. She's got a lot of familial issues, like her father deals with alcoholism. She has a strained relationship with her mother. She spends most of her time with like her friends and just trying to like stay away from the drama of her household. But eventually it catches up to her and she ends up in some pretty sticky situations. And prior to writing the book, I used to write a lot of magazine articles and newspaper articles that would cover topics that pertain to the South Asian community, like domestic violence, alcoholism, homophobia, and forced arranged marriage. So even though a lot of people think that stuff doesn't really go on as much as it does happen, and it's something that needed to have a light shined upon it. So that's what I did with this book. I tied all those topics together and I created a really intense like roller coaster of a story about it. And you've read it, you probably know it takes you through a lot of ups and downs, and it's like it's kind of like an Indian drama, but like for like people who live in Surrey.
Yeah, it was kind of a trip, like, when I was reading the book, seeing May Long Weekend and like, partying there, which is, like, totally relatable, because we all did that growing up. So, did you draw that from your life experiences? Like, were you in Whistler on May Long Weekend popping Molly?
No. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a pretty straight and narrow. Like, I don't... I mean, I'm not a goody-goody because I had my day, but I'm a mom now, so I don't really get up to half the stuff the characters in this book get up to. But, I mean, I had friends who did this kind of stuff. I personally was never allowed to go up to Whistler. I was the Rupa of the book. For anyone who's read it, I was, always scared. I had the protective older brother who knew, obviously, what would have went down had he let me go up there, so... But yeah, I mean, some of it's drawn from interviews that I did. Like I said, before writing the book, I used to do articles and blogs and all that. So some of it's drawn from interviews that I've done with people in the Indian community, and some of it's done from like people who are close to me, and maybe like certain bits and pieces, which I will never reveal, are from my own life. But yeah, my goal was to just create something that people from here and even like other areas where there's like dense Indian populations could really relate to.
Did you, like, what was your qualifications for writing the book? Like, did you have a degree? Did you go to school? Did you take any classes?
Yeah, so my background's in psychology, so not quite, like, I'm not an English major or anything like that, but I graduated from Kwantlen in 2013. I have a psych major. We did a whole lot of writing in that. Anyone who's done post-secondary knows just how much writing you do. So I feel like that built my strength, but what really, like, shed my inhibitions when writing was, like, blogging, because I was so used to, like, following a certain standard of rules and like trying not to be biased in my writing and trying to like be critical about everything, because that's like how you write a paper, right? So I had to kind of let go of the actual rules of the writing world for the initial first time through of writing my draft, because of course you have to edit it and make it proper and you got to follow the grammatical rules and all that. But if you have all that in your head when you're writing your first draft, it's going to limit you way too much. So I just wrote freely, and it kind of looked like I was typing out like a letter to a friend or something. Like a lot of the content I typed out on my phone at like nighttime because, like I mentioned, I'm a mom, so I have a 2-year-old, and at the time I was writing it, he was only a few months old. So if I had opened up my laptop, he would have woken up and the writing time would have been over. So I'd be like under the covers, like hiding, typing out ideas on my phone, and then the next day I would go and type it out properly on my laptop. But the initial first draft, if you saw it, you would be like, this is a piece of shit.
So what was the process? Like you said, you started a couple years ago. Because I've written like screenplays. I know how much of a pain in the ass it is. So like, what was the process of writing it? When did you start? When did you gain steam? When did you know this was actually going to work?
The process of writing it was that I had the mindset that I wasn't going to share it with anyone. It was just going to be like a personal project. I wrote it because I was kind of gripping for like my own identity at the time. I mean, I got married fairly young. Well, 24 now, that's considered young. And then I had my son like a year after. So I felt like really drowned in like my role as a daughter-in-law and a wife and a mom. And yeah, I work in the family business. Like my family owns an East Indian sweet shop and we have a factory. So I work there. But I needed something that was just mine, like something that carved out an identity just for myself. So that's where like so I was like searching. I was like, okay, should I go back to school? Should I do this? Should I do that? I was like, you know what? I'm going to write a book. I don't have any expectations of what it's going to turn into, but I'm going to write a book just because it's something I've always wanted to do and I feel like I can. So that's how I got started. And then it became something more. Then I realized the power of literature. And I was like, I want to make a difference with this. I want to create social change in my community. And I want to put something out there that puts like South Asian culture on the map. So then it turned into something more.
So like, how long did that take?
On and off 2 years. I took like majorly long breaks from it. I'm the type of person that needs like constant constructive feedback or I'll back off of a project. And like when I initially shared it with some people in my inner circle, they weren't really feeling it all that much. And maybe that's because before the story was something else. It was like a really raunchy tell-all of Surrey that I don't even know what I was thinking. I wouldn't have been able to put my last name on it. But
what do you mean? Like
you're like, tell me more about that. No. So okay, let's rewind even before I wrote this book. Prior to this, I had began writing another book called Sunny the Slut, and it was going to follow the life of like a typical quote-unquote Surrey girl, more or less hoeing around. But obviously I couldn't, like, that didn't have enough substance to me. Like, what would have readers gained from that? Like, it just would have been empty entertainment, right? So even though maybe that book would have blew up mega big, but for me, I needed any work I put out there to actually have value and
what was that book based on? what was it based on?
Do you want me to forward you the manuscript? Turn it into a screenplay?
I just feel I don't know. Don't you think Surrey girls get a bad rep? Like, are they really as bad?
It's such a stereotype, right? I mean, what's the difference between a girl acting like that who's uppity and a girl acting like that who's Caucasian? It's frowned upon in our culture, right? Yeah. And when I say acting like that, I mean being with multiple partners and not really giving a shit about your rep. In my head, that's what I think a Surrey girl should mean, right? But now it gets thrown around like crazy. I've been called that. Yeah. I mean, and you know me, I'm pretty sure I don't fit the bill for that, but a lot of people just throw that term around really loosely, and it's the same thing for Surrey Jack, right? And I feel like you care about breaking that stereotype, and that's what you're trying to do with your podcast, is speak to that hey, there's people that have more going on in between their ears who are from Surrey than just like chasing the dream of like trying to follow the lifestyle of like a gangster or whatever you want to say, right? Like there's people who are doing bigger and better things and adding more purpose to their life than just like criminal activity, right? But, yeah, I mean, that book, yeah, maybe I could have taken it in that way. Maybe it would have been like, she seems like a Surrey girl, but there's so much more to her. But who knows? That'll be another book one day. But no, I didn't. That didn't speak to me. I mean, you gotta have the book kind of relevant to who you are as a person a little bit. Yeah. So I feel like each of the main characters, like Tara, Roop, and Serena, obviously they each have a little bit of me in them, because I created them. So, right? Or people who are in my inner circle, like they see themselves and they're like, you bitch, you put me in your book.
You just changed the name.
Right? Or like everyone who knows me, they'll be like, who the fuck's Roger? Like, right? So they're so curious about that. But no, there's no Roger in my life. But yeah, I mean,
just an ass.
No one's gonna get that joke. That was my husband's nickname in high school. Bindi and my husband went to high school together. But yeah, I mean, I've been with him for a really long time, so he doesn't fit the character of Roger or Dave. So everyone knows those are pure figments of my imagination.
Yeah. So okay, you write the book. Then what happens? You write it. What is it, like 300 pages?
Yeah.
What's the process? Like, how do you know this is it? This is the final draft? Did you have like an editor? How did it work?
Yeah, so I wrote the manuscript, and there's probably like a gazillion versions of it, because I would keep tweaking it. I wasn't fully happy with it. And you're never going to be fully happy with your manuscript. You're never going to be holding something in your hands where you're like, this is it. This is my $1 million baby. Like, you can always be changing it. There's always room for improvement. But I got to a point where I was like, it's now or never. And it was time to hand it off to someone else. So I hired a professional editor. She went through it a few times and gave me her suggestions. And some of them...
Was she brown?
No, so it's really hard to find an Indian editor. So if there's any out there...
You should become one. That should be...
Oh, I suck at editing. See, that's the thing. I'm a writer, I'm an author, but I can't do the whole editing thing. I'm so details oriented that the original book would have been like 3 books in one, because I had so much extra shit in there that didn't need to be there. But she helped strip that away, because obviously you need somebody who's not so personally related to it to be able to delete paragraphs, and otherwise, that hurts when you've created content and it's got to go. But there's there's some subplot lines that disappeared. Right. So, but the main thing I hired her for was grammatical errors. The content thing, she kind of just took liberty on her own and decided to give me a few pointers, like saying, hey, you can't use this word, it's politically incorrect. And she made me take it out, or, stuff like that. But mostly she fixed the grammatical errors for me, because I had never written a book before, right? Like even in school, I didn't like write short stories or anything like that. My thing was essays. I was all about papers and like real proper hard evidence type of writing. But this was my first time kind of branching out into like a relaxed type of writing, and she just really cleaned it up for me. So after I had the editor, then she gave it back to me. Then I still went through it a million times. I had it printed at Staples numerous times, and I could tell those girls were kind of like rolling their eyes like, yeah, right, this is going to turn into a book, but haha, in your face, Staples girls.
That's a classic brown girl.
Yeah, they'd be like, oh, you're writing a book, are you? Mm-hmm. But
maybe that was all just in your head.
Maybe.
Maybe they're like rooting for you.
You always see the good in brown people. No,
I don't hang out with brown girls, by the way.
Oh, well, I could tell from your previous podcast.
I hang out with all brown dudes, but yeah. So you write the book, she edits it. Then what happens? Now what? You got the book. It's ready to go.
Yeah, well, no, then you got to decide if you want to take the traditional route of publishing and hand it off to someone else, or if you want to self-publish. A lot of people are taking that route now because they like to maintain control of the project, and they don't want anyone else messing with their work, so they prefer to just self-publish. And it's literally like overnight you could have a book. Like, that's how it went down. So it's a company called Create Space. They should honestly be paying me at this point for pumping their company so much, but it's a company called Create Space. It's like a spin-off from Amazon, and literally you take your PDF or even Microsoft Word document, You hit upload, you pay the fee, and they send you back a proper, like, formatted, like, you know, chapters and page numbers, and they properly, like, make it look all pretty and send it back to you. Then you want to give that a few read-throughs, because you'll catch mistakes quicker when the document looks cleaner, right? So then after that, if you're all happy with it, you go ahead and start designing your cover. I had a very specific idea of how I wanted the cover to look. Anyone who's seen the book, they know how it looks. It's just a girl looking out at a view of, like, a rural city, which is supposed to depict northern India, Punjab. And they were able to produce that for me, and I was super happy with how everything looked. So I said go ahead, and I ordered my first copy of the book, and it arrived literally within 24 hours. I mean, the gap between them creating the formatted file for me and everything, that was, I think, about 10 days, and I was, like, harassing the crap out of them. They probably hate me over there, but I was just, at that point, I had already set my book launch date, and I was so anxious to have actual copies of the book. And then so then they sent me the proof, and I can't even tell you what it felt like to hold the book in my hands for the first time. Like, it was such a surreal experience. It was, like, really trippy. It was, like, It was my creation, right? Yeah. Obviously, it doesn't come anywhere near to holding your own child, but it was a close second. I'll tell you that. Like, it was...
because it's years of fucking work. Man.
Yeah.
Like, it's not easy.
Yeah, and then you have people saying, like, you're wasting your time, or this isn't going to amount to anything, and it's like, haha, in your face, right? But... no, I mean, it was more than that for me. Like I said, it was like a passion project, and I kind of skipped over this part, but why I started writing it around the time my grandma passed away. So I needed a distraction at that time, because I was so just messed up over it. And because, like, my grandma was, like, my best friend, right? So I needed to do something that would take my mind off things. And then when I actually saw the project through, and it was, like, a finished version, I felt like I had, like, done good to her memory. Like, she always knew I was going to amount to something. And I'd like to think I have, after having put this book out there. So yeah, it was. I wish I had put that. Like, I wish I had dedicated it to her. I didn't, but it's dedicated to my grandma for sure.
Yeah. So, like, what was, like? Okay, so you got the book, you wrote it, you published it.
Yeah.
Then what?
Then you got to work your ass off to promote it, and you're a one-man show at that point, right? Because it's not like you have some big company with millions of dollars backing you to help make your name. So what it was kind of serendipity, because it kind of just fell into place. Like, so I mentioned I had planned a book launch party, which is at Bear Creek Park. I was like, people were like, why don't you do it downtown? I'm like, no, it's going to be a Bear Creek Pavilion. Like, it's going to be in the hub of Surrey,
or
right?
Evershine Park.
No, they have I don't even know where the fuck that is. But they have a really nice place there. It's called Bear Creek Pavilion, and it's like this glass building. And I just invited some people from the writing world, like Kamal Dillon and Raminder Sidhu, a few other South Asian authors and writers, and like, obviously, friends and family. And it was really cool. It was a really neat day, like, to celebrate the book and just celebrate the accomplishment of having seen it through. And then, so that was my deadline I was working for. And then, I remember why I started telling this story. So I went to Chapters, right, in South Surrey, Indigo. I went with my son, and I was buying gift cards to give away at the book launch. And then the cashier said to me, "Oh, well, what are these for, a birthday party?" I'm like, "No, I'm having a book launch." And she's like, "What do you mean you're having a book launch? I haven't heard about your book. What is this book?" And then she started asking me questions. She handed me the manager's card. She's like, "Call the manager. We're doing, we love local authors." And I was like, okay, sweet. Like, I didn't even have the guts to approach a real bookstore at that point, right? I felt like I needed some sales under my belt. And then, I just kind of harassed the crap out of the manager for, like, the next few weeks. She gave me the runaround a few times, and then once the sales started rolling in and the hype started being built about it, and then actually a few of the Indigo employees had said they had heard about my blog prior to anything, like the book or anything, and they were like, "You know what? this girl, she has a way with words, you should give her book a chance. And she kind of vouched for me. I still need to go shake that girl's hand. But yeah, so she got my foot in the door. And then after that, it just kind of snowballed, because once your book's on the shelves, it makes it real, right? And then at that point, then people were kind of talking about it, and the buzz started being built, and it all kind of word of mouth just kind of took over at that point.
Yeah. So you just totally, it just kind of all happened, right? Like, you didn't plan to have it in chapters or...
No, that was my goal. Holy smokes. That, for anyone who's an author or a writer, that's your end goal. Like, once that happens, you're kind of, it's a really amazing moment. Like, that's such a big accomplishment to see your work on, like, the shelf of a chapter. So I took like a gazillion pictures that day, and I was like so happy, over the moon. It was really cool. It was awesome. And now I get to do signings and events in conjunction with chapters, and it's just been building ever since. It's been a really, really awesome journey just releasing this book.
So, like, you have it in chapters, but what are the other ways you're selling it? Because, like, obviously you're selling it online. That's a huge way to get it out there.
Yeah, it's available on Amazon. So I'm only in bookstores within the BC region. It's not anywhere else as of right now. I don't know when you're going to upload this, but I'm actually headed to Toronto on Thursday. And then on June 10th, I'm going to be in the Brampton chapters and doing a signing and meet and greet there. So that's going to be my first time, like, going to a different, like, city and actually doing an event. But I'm pretty excited for that. And then I'll obviously stock the book there. But yeah, you can get it on Kindle, Amazon, Chapters, Kohl's, Indigo, all those places. And I'm working on getting it, like, internationally distributed, because I have a lot of people who message me and email me, and they're like, we want your book, but we can't get it. Because some people don't like ordering online, right? They want to get it from a bookstore. So I'm working on it.
Yeah, it's a process.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, whenever because you wrote about some like stuff in there, so it's like whenever you put yourself out like that, especially in our community, you get a lot of different reactions. So what were the reactions from, like, your friends and family, and even, like, random people on social media? From assholes is basically what I'm saying.
I had, like, a select few people, like, who have always kind of had a problem with my writing, because I talk about, like, the uglier parts of the community, which you gotta shine a light on something in order to, like, make it change, right? Unless you start talking about something, it's not going to change. So I'm not trying to, like, bag on my own community. What I'm trying to do here is highlight, like, this is the stuff that goes down. This is where we need to see change. And this is, so, like, get people talking. That's the first step. So yeah, there's some people who just don't get it. It goes above their heads, and I'm fine with that. I mean, you're aware, you grow a tough, like, thick skin dealing with that kind of stuff, and it's like, well, at least we're trying, right? Like, at least we're putting ourselves out there for the greater good of the Indian community, right? So
I'm not really putting myself out there. No one knows who the fuck I am.
I'm going to expose you. No, yeah, but the majority of feedback has all been really positive. Everyone's, like, the reviews, once they started rolling in, it was really, it just, like, it was really gratifying, and it made it worth it for me. When I get people saying, I want to be an author, like, you've inspired me to actually go on and write my book, or I went through something that the main character went through and it helped me sort through those feelings. Like, what more can you ask for? At that point, it's like, okay, this was all worth it. All the hard work was worth it. But yeah, I mean, most of the feedback's good.
Yeah, so, like, in the book, there's a lot of stuff, I guess, relatable to, like, brown people, like land disputes, which I'm sure everyone's fucking dealt with, alcoholism, everyone knows an alcoholic in their family. But the whole, like, forced marriage thing, I don't know too much about it, but is that something that, like, still goes on? You probably know more than me.
Maybe not as dramatic as it goes down in the book. Obviously, it was, like, hyped up there. But I think Sometimes what you have is it's like a business transaction, and families kind of see what's mutually beneficial, and then an arrangement is made based on that. But you know what? Not all arranged marriages are bad. Essentially, sometimes if it's like loosely done, it can be like being set up on a blind date, right? Like, it's not personally for me, but like I've heard a lot of instances where it actually works out, and like the majority of our parents, that's how they got married, and
they're pretty good.
Yeah, they're decent, but you know,
but like our divorce rate for our parents' generation was way less, but that's probably attributed to being shit scared of their parents.
Yeah, but that's just like what's culturally frowned upon and what's acceptable, like social norm wise, and now that's changing. It's getting out of hand, but. I mean, hey, maybe all these love marriages need to actually be arranged marriages, and all this.
No, because when I was growing up, I remember every marriage was arranged, and then that this documentary came out. I don't know if you remember it, where the chick went to India, and but her family wanted to get married and like to someone, but her family had her whacked because she was going out with like some kabaddi guy. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so after that, I feel like, and they put it on like CBC, and it was like national.
Yeah.
And everyone watched it and were like, what the fuck is wrong with these people?
Yeah.
And I think after that, after that, like, I don't know. I don't see arranged marriages anymore, but yeah, so in the book, you talk about like how ridiculous some of our weddings are, like, you know, as far as like the pricing, like, you know, my brother got married last year, and their wedding was like over $100,000, which is fucking ridiculous.
That's the norm,
Yeah, so I don't know. What do you think? What is your opinion on, like, because you got married? When did you get married?
In 2013.
2013.
I had an over-the-top wedding, too. Yeah. I'm, like, such a hypocrite when I bang on that kind of stuff. And my mom called me up right after because I had written an article on this calling, like, Indian weddings a big circus act, and it kind of blew up, right?
Yeah.
And my mom was like, well, if you felt that way, why the hell did you spend so much money on your own? Like, we could have done, like, so much less for you, but no. You know what? I've actually been dying to hear you talk about the 2 videos that have been going around about, you know, have you seen them?
Yeah, I've seen them.
Yeah, everybody's seen them.
Yeah,
yeah. I
think the guy who made that video is a piece of shit. Not the chick in the shorts with the thing. Like, the guy who made that video and uploaded it, that guy's a piece of shit. That's what I think. I have nothing against
it's
that
like
chick.
an invasion of
it's so like,
privacy.
And it's, I don't know what it is with our community. Like, everyone wants to fucking expose each other. Like, they get like a hard on for it. And I don't get it. Like, I can never do that. I can never make a video of someone
put someone on
and
blast.
Put it online. And I don't know, dude. Obviously, that chick looked kind of ridiculous with the shorts and the thing, but who gives a fuck? It's her wedding, dude. Yeah. What's even more ridiculous is they spent like $100,000 on their fucking wedding, probably.
Yeah. See, that's the point. Like, I've gotten into debates over this with people, and they're like, "What's the big deal?" And I'm like, honestly, to each their own. But the thing is, if you have like your parents paying for everything, you kind of owe it to them to keep your goddamn leg on at that point. Like, I'm not trying to like bag on anyone, but it's just like, fine, take religiousness out of it, take cultural expectations out of it. But what about the fact that like there's somebody else who fronted your bill for the entire day, and you have a certain image to uphold at that point? But whatever, we don't know the details. We weren't there. Yeah. But I mean, it just, what it is it's just reflective of what you originally asked me. Like, what do I think about these weddings? What I think about these weddings is they've become such a like, they've become this end all and be all for a lot of girls, and they're not seeing past the actual wedding date. And I think a lot of people are getting married when they're not mentally prepared to do so. Mm-hmm. And I think I know, because I went through it, so I know that whole week, it's such a rush of endorphins and like adrenaline that you can make some pretty bad decisions. And I think, yeah, you can make a decision to like stand around in your shorts when maybe that it would have been wiser not to do so, knowing that people are douchebags and they're going to record you and put it online, right? Because you're in the limelight for that day, and that week actually. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I always say, like, people were asking me, were you drunk on your reception? And I was like, no, it was honestly just the adrenaline. Like, you don't even need a sip of anything. Like, you're so hyped just off the energy and the attention. And I think it can, like, feed into your brain and make you do things that you wouldn't otherwise do, maybe. Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's just giving the situation the benefit of the doubt and try to, like, paint it in a different light. But yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously Indian weddings, but that's like the going rate. That's the industry now, and so many people are profiting off of it and making lucrative businesses for themselves out of it, like makeup and hair and like outfits cost an arm and a leg. But yeah, I mean, even in the book, like the character goes through like a mental loop of, this wasn't what my wedding was supposed to be, but she's still kind of drawn in by the glitz and the glam and the sparkle of the jewelry and the heavy dupatta with her high bun and everything. It is like such an image that girls fantasize about. And anyone who says that they don't, they're lying. Because I can remember being like 6 years old, being at a wedding and just dreaming about the day it was my turn, right? Like you're just dying for it to be you. But that shouldn't be your life goal. Like something's wrong there.
Because after your wedding, like a week after, let's be honest, no one's really going to give a shit about it, right? Except
for you, you're like a low celebrity for like a week. And
you got like 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah. And you gotta be careful what you do in those 50 minutes, right?
Like what? Putting shorts on?
Yeah.
I didn't find that a big deal. And then did you see the other video where the guy and
that
the girl
ended up on Indian News?
Yeah, I don't see what the big deal about that is. I do not.
Okay, we're on like opposite. You know why?
Because every wedding you go to, the guy is at the park drinking, right?
Yeah.
At the park, every fucking groom. Yeah. Goes to the park after and has a drink, and a lot of the brides do too. But yeah, but like smoking weed is way less damaging than that.
Oh, were they smoking weed? I thought it was cigarettes.
I think it was weed. I'm not sure.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe we can have them on the next episode of the Surrey Experience.
Like more grooms should smoke weed. But the guy who recorded that video and uploaded it is a piece of shit. It's not the bride and groom. They're going to be getting shit-faced all week. Like, I don't see what the big deal is if they smoke a joint. Or even have a smoke.
I'm going to withhold my opinion. Because I'm always in the minority with, like, topics like weed and...
Yeah, you're like anti-weed, right?
I'm not anti-weed. I think there's a time and a place for it. And if it takes over your life and it starts holding you back from things, if it's not making you more productive, then yeah, I'm anti-weed. And I think like once you're a parent, like maybe you shouldn't be doing that. But to each their own, right? Like who am I to say anything?
When was the last time you smoked a joint?
Never.
You've never smoked a joint? Damn, dude. I feel sorry for you. I feel like you could be way more creative. I feel like you're writing... I fucking sound like I'm trying to get you to smoke weed. And you're pregnant, so I'm just going to stop. But I don't know. I think
you're like, your baby's going to come out a genius. It's going to write the sequel in the womb.
Yeah, the next Einstein. Yeah, no, you shouldn't smoke weed when you're pregnant. So put that out there. Yeah, so when I was, like, reading the book, I realized how stupid some of the things are in our culture. Like, how a person with light skin is treated better than a person with dark skin. And, like, the whole caste system thing. You know, I don't even understand how the whole caste, like, because I don't want to do spoiler alert, but one of the guy is was a Rajput, and then the girl was a Jat.
Right.
And the parents weren't, like, too keen on that.
Yeah. So I threw that in there because I think a lot of like young couples deal with that being a grievance, which is just ridiculous because anyone who calls themselves a Sikh shouldn't even be following the caste system anymore because like the gurus, I feel like I shouldn't even be talking about the gurus on this podcast, but
hey, what are you trying to say? What the hell?
Dude, I was surprised when you called me on here. I was like, I need way more street cred to be on the Surrey Experience show. Like,
you're my second guest ever. You and Intense. And I had to like guilt trip Intense to come on. So.
I need a few like teardrop tattoos or something.
No, nothing like that. You just need to smoke a joint. That's
oh my gosh. It always comes back to that. You should hear how my husband's friends bag on me about that. But anyways, what did you ask me?
I was asking about the caste system and like in your book.
Okay, like, yeah, so why I put it, I included that because, like, a lot of people deal with that, and it's ridiculous that it's still a thing. I mean, originally it was there because, like, they were dividing the caste based on their occupation, right? So if you did a certain occupation, you would belong to a certain caste, but, like, nowadays that doesn't, like, especially over here, like, we're all doing the same shit jobs, so why is there a difference between, you know, anybody? And then, like, Sikhism is supposed to be all about equality, and it's supposed to be all about, like, we are all one, and like everything's supposed to be on, like, one level, but you're not supposed to, like, look down or look up at anyone. So I had to throw that in there, and it's, like, silly that it's still a thing, but I'm sure a lot of people deal with that still.
Yeah, so you also talk about in the book, like, the whole India and how there's, like, a heroin epidemic and all that stuff. Did you go to India? Did you see it firsthand, or, like...
Did I see my, like, family shooting up? No.
Pretty much, yeah.
You know, all I can speak to for that from, like, personal anecdote is that over there, they think we're so much more messed up than we actually are over here. Like, I'm not dumb. I know that there's, like, weed is at the bottom, and then it slowly gets worse and worse with, like, hard drugs. Over there, though, I don't think they get that. Like, who in their right mind over here would willingly inject themselves with heroin? Like, I'm going on a bender, I'm gonna do some heroin. Like, that's not an option. Well, like, for the majority, right? Let's hope so anyway. But over there, like, I don't think they get that. Like, these drugs will really mess you up and take your life away. But, like, it's not even their fault, though. I'm going to sound like a conspiracy theorist here, but...
I have a few conspiracy theories about this, too.
But it's honestly being pumped into the streets strategically to kind of create, like, a cultural genocide, in my opinion, just based on, like, seminars I've gone to and, like, any information I've read up on it. And
so who do you think's pumping it in?
I'm not gonna say shit. I don't want to be taken out here. But anyone who's, like, aware of what's going on, they kind of know the deal. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty bad over there, and it's really sad to see. It's so messed up. It's such an unnecessary, like, waste of life to throw your life away like that. And yeah, they think we're so much worse than we are over here. I mean, not everyone's, like, into hard drugs, but over there, it's really common.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up. But, all right, so, like, the book, it's an amazing book. I read the first 3 chapters and I couldn't put it down. I know you do a lot of talks at high schools, stuff like that. So, and I know you told me a story about the little girl who was inspired by you. So, say there's, like, anyone who wants to do something, you know, whether it be writing a book or start a YouTube page, what would your advice to them be?
Yeah, so that's actually why I started up my own podcast called The Lit Life, is because I wanted people to have an avenue to kind of learn about the ins and outs of the writing world, and also just my thoughts on, like, how to stop giving a shit what other people think. Like, through this process, the one line I hear over and over again is "Loki ki kahenge," and, like, especially once you're married, like, for some reason that's, like, drilled into your head, like, "Loki ki kahenge." Stop caring what people are gonna think. If you have a dream, a goal, a positive one, go for it, right? Like, life's too short to be just, like, following a checklist and making other people happy all the time. Like, of course, yeah, you gotta fulfill your obligations. But if there's, like, something you're passionate about, like starting a YouTube channel or starting your podcast or writing a book or anything like that, maybe it's even, like, starting a business that doesn't currently exist. Then go for it. Like, find the means necessary to learn more about it. The first step to anything is to just immerse yourself in the world of whatever you're interested in, and that's what I did. So I went to, like, a lot of author talks, and I read up a lot of articles about the topics I was covering, and you just gotta really, like, surround yourself with whatever you're trying to make happen, and surround yourself with like-minded and encouraging people. Like, really reevaluate who you're surrounding yourself with, because if there's people who aren't doing shit with their life themselves, they're not going to be happy with you doing anything with your life either. So just cut them out of your life and watch where you go.
Yeah, I totally agree. You can't be around negative people. You know, it's never going to work out. But you wrote this book now. It's doing great. It's in chapters. It's selling online. what's next for Amrita Lit? Like, what does the future entail?
The future entails me doing the mom thing for a bit. I'm gonna have to take a step back come September but you know what, that type of stuff, those life experiences are what make you all the much more inspired to make the world a better place and take on the next project. So I had originally said, like when I was just done with this book, said no sequel, no, this is it, that's it. But then so many people requested a sequel that I feel like I owe it to them to extend Tara's journey. But yeah, and then I'm doing the podcast thing, which basically just came out of me listening to yours and really liking how it's like against the grain and like not your typical podcast. And I wanted to do like kind of like a girl version of that almost, but not really, no. But
Am I supposed to be like offended by this?
No, it's just yeah. What I'm trying to say is like I wanted to again put something out there that's not currently out there, right? Just like my goal with the book, that's what I tried to do with the podcast. And because like I blog, right? But the views, like some of them do better than others, but I feel like I would reach a wider audience if it was just something you have to listen to rather than something you read, because like people have to read for their work and school and they associate it with like it's not like a leisurely thing for a lot of people to do, so they'd rather just listen to a podcast, and that's fine with me.
Like in that same vein, are you thinking of doing an audiobook for this? Because a lot of people I know that read books, they don't really read them, they listen to them while they're like working out or whatever.
Yeah. See, here's why I kind of struggle with the concept of turning it into an audiobook. It's because I feel like then I would lose the readership, and which has been a huge chunk of the readership of people who say they never ever read. They never like reading books. The last book they read was like required reading from high school, like The Outsiders or something. But they loved my book and they read it from cover to cover within like, one sitting, like one night or whatever. But I don't want to lose that. And if I do an audiobook, it's all those lazy readers or like non-readers, they're just going to go for that. And like that makes me feel like I'm selling out, and I don't know if I want to do that. And you know what? I'm going to end up putting an audiobook out and then people are going to be like, sell out.
No, I agree, cuz when I started reading it, it was like after the first few chapters, you're kind of drawn in and you kind of want to like finish it off. So maybe you would lose that if you did an audio version. But yeah, so what else did you, was there anything else you wanted to say, or did you have any other like stuff you want to bring up?
That's about it. You really put me an open-ended question.
Sorry. I suck at this hosting thing. I'm like a one-man show.
This was really good. Yeah, I mean, for anyone who does like want to learn more about writing or like the stuff I do, feel free to reach out, or like follow my page, Amrita Literature. And I love helping people. I love meeting up with people and just kind of guiding them through the process. So I'm open to that. And thank you for having me. I know this was like really different from what you normally do. But yeah, I'm glad that you care enough to highlight stuff like this. And yeah, it was awesome.
Well, me and your husband grew up on the same neighborhood, so we're like practically family.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where can they find you? You're on Instagram, Facebook. What else? Yeah,
so I've got Instagram and Facebook, both called Amrita Literature. My blog is amritaliterature.com. Information about the book is on amritalit.com, and then my podcast that I just started up is called The Lit Life, and that's currently just on SoundCloud and YouTube. Okay, well, yeah, that's probably going to do it for the podcast. I want to thank you for coming on, and congratulations on your book, on the baby. And yeah, man, you killed it. I think this is going to inspire a lot more people to write and get into creating. So, congratulations. Thank you. All right. Did you guys enjoy that? Was that better than listening to me run my yap for like half an hour? The reason I wanted to bring Amrita on the podcast is because I just wanted to show everyone that you don't need a writing degree. You don't need to like spend tens of thousands of dollars in school. It would be great if you did,
But if you don't, that's not the end of the world, you know? You can still do it, man. You can achieve any goal, any dream, if you just put in the work. Especially in this day and age. If you really want it that bad, you can make it happen, man. Look at Amrita. Like, she fucking has a son, and, you know, she didn't have any writing credentials. She just did blogs and stuff, but that was something that she was really passionate about. And she just put in the work, and it took her a couple years, but she made it happen. And you could too. But you gotta start now, man. You gotta start making sacrifices. Like, don't get shit-faced this weekend. I know that sounds ridiculous coming from a fucking alcoholic like me, but stay in this weekend. Write down your goals. Find whatever motivates you, right? Put on that fucking Eminem song, whatever it's called, the Mom Spaghetti 8 Mile. I can't remember the fucking name, but that's my go-to song whenever I need to, like, get some shit done, right? Like, if I need to fucking fold my laundry, I'll put that song on, and that's how I get it done. So yeah, man, start now. And don't wait for your friends' opinions, because they're not going to fucking support you, right? Lord knows mine don't. But you gotta just go for it. I'm calling all the creatives in our fucking community, alright? If a moron like me could fucking record 31 episodes of this podcast, you could become a writer or a painter or start a YouTube channel or whatever the fuck it is you want to do. But you gotta start now. There's a lot of opportunity coming to Surrey right now, man. I'm telling you guys. I can't talk too much about it because I signed a non-disclosure, but I'm telling you, man, Surrey is red hot right now. And there's gonna be a lot of opportunity, man. So if you're a creative person, start working on that body of work, man. Start creating, start making shit happen, but you gotta start right now. And you gotta have something to show when opportunity does eventually come. There's so much fucking talent in our community, but all anyone gives a shit about here is like exposing each other and like putting each other on blast. Like we talked about those videos about the girl who was getting married and she had the shorts on with the fucking lenga top. Everyone's like putting that chick on blast, but the person who we should really be putting on blast is the fucking asshole that made that video and uploaded it on the internet. What kind of a fucking man makes a video without someone's consent and like uploads it? That's like some bitch shit, man. That's like some digital shit talking auntie shit. And all these fucking social media pages dedicated to putting like people on blast. You know those fucking pages. How do those people sleep at night? They're not fucking contributing anything to society. They're just like taking videos of fucking people in embarrassing moments and fucking showing them to everyone. And I know on this podcast I make fun of like brown girls and fucking everyone, but I'm doing it out of a place of love, okay? I'm just joking around, and I never single anyone out. I never said anyone's name on this podcast. These fucking assholes have Instagram pages where they post videos and pictures about people from our community for their own personal gain. And they get like thousands of likes and thousands of followers. Because our community is just full of a bunch of fucking gossip queen bitches. If you run one of those pages, you're a piece of shit where I come from. A no talent having, copy and paste piece of shit. It's because of pages like that people will like happily videotape their fellow man and show it to the rest of the world. Fucking morons. I'm telling you, man, these are going to be the same guys who like fuck us over when the government's like trying to take over our lives by watching our every move. Has anyone ever read like 1984 by George Orwell? Anybody? You're not supposed to videotape your fellow man and expose them for the world to see. That's some like bitch made shit, man. What the fuck is wrong with people? Whatever happened to like mind your own goddamn business? I swear, man, we need like more Newton guys in this world. Putting people on blast isn't going to get you anywhere, man, but chasing your dreams will. Going for whatever it is you want to do will, alright? And the more people in our community that do that, the better. The more people we have going for it and opening doors and building bridges, the easier it will be for the rest of us. So to like the 24-year-old Surrey kid who's like smoking a joint right now, I fucking need you, dude. I need you to go for it. But you got to start right now, alright? And for all you young women, I was about to say fucking broads, but for all you young women out there, right? There's more in life than getting married, man. There's more to life than that. There's more to life than fucking being a nurse, okay? If you want to be a nurse because you want to help people, that's great. But if you're just a nurse for the paycheck, you're doing everyone a disservice by like not becoming a fashion designer or a fucking writer or a stripper, or whatever the fuck it is you want to do in life, all right? I'm not trying to gas you guys up. If you need any reaffirming or like reaffirmation, I don't know how the fuck to say that word, but email me, man. Reach out to me because we need more creators and less haters. I'm telling you, man, Surrey's hot right now. There's a lot of opportunity coming. So start creating a body of work, all right? It might be a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, but when opportunity comes knocking, you want to have something to show, but you got to start now. So to the 24-year-old stoner kid listening to this, take 2 more hits out of that joint and put it out. Because we got some work to do.